All right, guys, today's episode, we're talking about TikTok and the new wave of financial advisors. We're talking through the best advice that I've actually ever gotten when it comes to becoming a CEO. We're talking through whether or not you should be bragging about and talking about your financial planning software. And then, probably most importantly, when is it time to hire your first full-time employee to a service or clerical role? So we got a fun episode, guys. Stay tuned.
This is the Advisor Odyssey audio experience, where financial advisors, planners, insurance agents, and brokers will find fresh new ideas and perspectives around what it takes to launch, succeed, scale, and bulletproof their business.
Okay, so TikTok. Now, I'm a pretty firm believer that TikTok is going to be the go-to learning platform behind YouTube, to be clear, but the number 2 overall learning platform for consumers. But I think it's going to be the number 1 learning platform when it comes to people wanting to learn about something brand new to them. So imagine a lot like what Pinterest was, 10 years ago with recipe books. How many times did you Google a recipe for that broccoli cheese casserole or that chicken noodle soup? And then one of the first results that popped up was Pinterest, right? This is where we're going to actually see TikTok going, I believe. Now, I say that because number one, TikTok's going to grab, it's going to follow your trends. It's going to follow your search. It's basically, you're treated like a cookie here. What TikTok does very differently though, is it's going to only show you content that's relevant to what it thinks you like. So you could search things on TikTok, but it's going to initially show you things that it thinks you want to see. So I believe that we're a year away because could you imagine somebody following this exact path? Step 1, I'll use me as the example. Daniel wants higher returns on my money. And so I'm trying to find good ways to find higher returns. So the first thing that I would do if I was laying on my couch or sitting in my chair at 10 o'clock at night thinking about this, I'm going to hop on Google and I'm going to Google search something like what investment classes yield the highest returns or what investments can make the most money. Now, what's probably going to happen is when I search that, I'm going to see, first and foremost, a ton of websites. I'll have blog posts. I'll have news articles. I'll have probably some like sponsored ads coming at me all the time. But I don't really want to read through all of that, right? It was this kind of thought that just scattered through my brain thinking I want higher returns. But everything that I got was these big news articles or these big blog posts, or perhaps it's one of those slideshow click-throughs that we all really dislike. So when I get bored with it, and probably slightly frustrated, I'm going to just quit looking on the internet for an answer. And because it's a fleeting thought when it initially hit, I'm probably not going to follow up on it too much. Maybe I'll Google it a time or two, or maybe I'll go back to a website that did catch my attention. But that's probably the last time I'm ever going to search that for a while. Now, here's what happens though. After I get bored of looking for answers on the internet, I'm going to hop on social media. Now, this could be Instagram, could be Facebook, could be Snapchat, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. Demographically, you're seeing a huge increase in TikTok usage. And one of the big misconceptions about TikTok as a whole is that it's only for the younger generation. I'm sure you've been hearing that. I know a lot of big-time marketers have been pounding their fist on this. But TikTok, it's a wave, right? It's not a one-hit wonder, you can call it. It's not going to be like a Vine where it's just going to come and go. It's not going to be like a Clubhouse where it's going to live and die and become a feature. TikTok is here to stay. So for most people, they're going to be hopping on TikTok. In my example, again, let's say I get bored and I hop on TikTok and I just mindlessly scroll, as we all will do every once in a while at least. But I start seeing, 1 to 2, maybe 3-minute videos related to investing and financial products and tips on getting higher returns on your investments and investment mistakes to avoid if you want higher returns. You start seeing these, right? That's the algorithm. That's why TikTok is so powerful. So imagine this. I see a video that you posted, and your video is all about 4 or 5 of your favorite investments, right? This isn't going to be investment advice, so we're going to draw a hard line here. None of this is blanketed investment advice. But you're talking about common investments, just educating, right? Evergreen content. What is a 401k? What is a Roth IRA? What is a mutual fund? Like, you're just talking about stuff. Now, as I start seeing your videos, I start to get more intrigued and more curious if you're making good content. But I've now replaced in my head, if I want to learn more about this, I'm just going to go to your profile and watch your videos. Instead of hopping back on Google and typing in what investment classes yield the highest returns or anything of the sorts. Right now I'm hooked. Now I found what I wanted as I was mindlessly scrolling, and now I'm seeing your content and I'm yours. Like, at this point, you have got me hooked in, and it's your game to lose. Now, obviously, you'll never know when people are watching your content for the most part. That's going to be one of the big caveats to all of this. So you just have to be consistent and just keep posting. But as I'm watching your videos, I see that, these are only 2-minute, 3-minute videos max. But you reference in your TikTok videos that you've got a YouTube page where you do this way more in depth. I see in your TikTok videos that you have a LinkedIn page or your company website. I basically find other avenues to find more information. That's step one of really converting a lead to a prospect to an eventual client, is piquing their interest in the cold phase. And in this example, that's what you've done. You've piqued my interest in that cold phase. So as I go onto YouTube to watch your 10, 15, 20-minute videos around that topic, I, again, get further down that rabbit hole. What you're posting about your content is really intriguing, really fascinating. So I fall into your lead funnel. This is where digital marketing takes over. You've built this brand, whether I just found it today or I found it for 6 months and I've never actually taken action. I see that you've got this content, and I see that it's not just one video doing this content over and over and over again. I see you have multiple around different things. So my perception of you is they are knowledgeable. They're smart. The list can go on, but that becomes my perception. So when I go to your website, or when I register to attend one of your webinars, when I download that PDF or that white paper off your website, then you get my information. Now, for many prospects, and I could be that prospect, I might be actually really hungry to have an answer. So I might actually just set an appointment with you right then and there just because I saw your content. And I trust you enough to meet with you for that first time. But all in all, the point here is when you build that brand reputation, and I do think TikTok is where a lot of folks are going to be heading to that are not there yet. It's going to fill up fast, just like Facebook did, just like Instagram, just like Snapchat. It's not a fad. Especially, kind of putting A and B together for a simple equation. The younger demographic is more primarily on TikTok. They're more primarily on there. But that younger demographic is eventually going to become the client age that you're looking for. Whether you're looking for millennials, you're looking for a Gen X, or anything, eventually they're going to be on there. And if you strictly work with retirees, baby boomers, they're finding their way on there too, right? And it's a very unsaturated marketplace for financial advisors. So as a millennial, by the way, if your demographic is the younger generation, we really value social capital. So that line I said of, when I see your profile that you have a lot of videos posted, that means a lot. Someone who has 1 or 2 videos and they blew up and became viral, that's not really that appealing to us, because we want to have that recognition. We want to know that we can trust you. Even though we never talk to you, trust is built through repetition. There's a misconception in, not just in sales, but in business, that what matters most is the length of time, or in other words, the duration of a conversation when you're trying to build trust. And that's not accurate. What matters when you're trying to build trust is frequency of conversations. So in our case, one long video of 30 minutes that talks all about investing. And it's got different bookmarks, different chapters. That will not build as much social capital and trust and recognition with your primary demographic, most likely, depending on that demographic, it's not going to build as much as having 10, 15, 20 smaller videos that people can watch over and over and over again. Whether you're wearing the same clothes or whether you're talking about similar stuff or whether you've got the same thing on the whiteboard in the background, it doesn't matter. It's repetition. People want to know that you're posting the content, that you're visibly putting in an effort, quite frankly. So we value social capital, and that content is key to your social capital. Now, all of this together, to be clear, it all started just by me having this fleeting thought, and I use me as the example, and it ends with me finding your website because I'm really curious to know more about what you do. But I don't feel like I'm being sold. I feel like I'm buying. I found you. I stumbled across your stuff. TikTok did the work, putting you in front of me, but I stumbled across your stuff. I was intrigued. You made the content. And now here we are. I'm having a meeting with you. I'm scheduling time to meet with you, or I'm downloading your material, and now you're dripping on me, right? That's the path we want to follow. Now, the person on the other side of the equation, which would be you, if I set that appointment because I bought and I wasn't sold, well, you're going to get a lot less objections as I progress through the sales process. Flash forward, let's say I become a client, right? Daniel becomes a client. All because Daniel wanted higher returns, potential returns on the money that I invest. And, which, who doesn't, right? But I wanted higher returns and I was frustrated with the old world information seeking patterns that are available. Google, to blog posts, to long articles, to slideshows. It was too much. I decided I just wanted smaller bits of information that were valuable. So, do you get it? Does that make sense? Like, that's the future of this. Now, some of you, I'm going to hit this objection right now. Some of you might be thinking that whether or not you believe in TikTok, we could replace TikTok here with LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. You're probably thinking, how do I come up with the content? Because that's key here. When you're putting yourself out there, you have to create your content. You can't just curate it. However, when you're just posting articles and statuses and basically anything on social media that's not a video like this right now or a video that you would post on TikTok, you can curate it. But when you post yourself talking or, doing whatever you're doing, that's creation. So the biggest hurdle to content creation is just knowing what to create, knowing what to talk about, what to do. So you don't have to dance, you don't have to, do any sort of trends, you don't have to do any of that. But you have to be consistent. And there's roughly 10 areas of financial planning that tends to get high social traffic in the financial world. It tends to get higher social trafficking, but it also is more or less kind of hot buttons in general. Now, some of this will be a little out of the realm of what you do, but again, we're targeting the traffic, we're targeting the clicks, the exposure. Even though we're still in the world of finance, you might not be an expert at XYZ, but it's in the world of finance, which is your career. Someone might be a contractor. They might work on homes. They might not be the best plumber, but they have to know something about plumbing. So these 10 areas, in no particular order, you've got just personal finance and budgeting. That actually is probably the most common. You have your personal finance and budgeting. Everyone wants to know how they can set up their budget, how they can automate, how they can be smarter about their spending and their habits. That's a big one. Second one is going to be cryptocurrency. Buyer beware here. Any any content you post related to cryptocurrency is going to be very, very scrutinized and very, very compliance overseen. So be very cautious with this if you decide to do it. Number 3 is going to be taxes, whether that's saving money on taxes, how do you do your own taxes, just the whole world of taxes. You're then going to have retirement planning and distribution. That's going to be number 4. Number 5 will be maximizing savings. Number 6 will be life insurance and long-term care type situations. Close to that will be number 7, which is more that property and casualty type insurance. And then number 8 is actually health insurance, and then Medicare as a secondary piece to that. Number 9 is going to be managing debt and getting out of debt. It's kind of that Dave Ramsey effect, right? That's why he's so big. And then lastly, you have kind of a mix between college funding as the parent and also financial strategies for the younger demographic, like high school and college. So as long as you can come up with content in some of those areas, and quite frankly, I would just kind of rewrite those down, circle the 3 or 4 that you're most comfortable with in a general sense. Start making content. Just start making the content. And I believe that if you put it on TikTok and you let it live there, you're going to start to reap the results, because it is a very, very unsaturated marketplace for financial advisors.
From left field, where we take a swing at answering your specific questions and share our insights into the more common challenges that financial advisors, planners, insurance agents, and brokers typically face in their business.
All right. Question number 1 from left field today. What is the best advice you could ever give to somebody jumping into the world of being a financial advisor and starting their own independent practice?
Being a financial advisor, or you can call an insurance agent, a broker, anything in that financial world, it's pretty cutthroat, and it has a really, really high fail rate. But overall, and this isn't just generic to financial advising, I think that the best part about being a CEO of your own company or an entrepreneur is being able to blaze your own path. However, the toughest part of that is blazing your own path and hating the path you built, the path you blazed. So as you build your business step by step, and in the beginning, everything can be, I think savvy, more mature business owners know that it's never as easy as it feels. But as you start building that in the beginning, no decision is going to be black and white. It's not going to be easy. So you have to be comfortable making decisions in the gray. Hal Elrod, actually, his book, The Miracle Equation, is great for this too. Which if you haven't read that, that's kind of a shameless book plug. But every decision you make is going to be in the gray. You're also going to be working with imperfect information almost all the time, especially in the early phases. So you have to be comfortable with that and be aware of it. But more specific to financial advising, building the successful financial advisory practice or anything in the related field, it's difficult, as I said, from the ground up, and it can't be sugar-coated. I believe the stat last time I saw was 90% of financial advisors fail within their first 2 years, and they leave the field entirely. So it's not like they failed and then they go to work at in a bank. They leave because they failed and they're off doing something completely different. So, some of the other big pieces of advice that I would give is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of amazing financial advisors that have come before you that are running businesses bigger and better than yours, and even the one that you're envisioning that you'll build. Learn from them. Success leaves clues. Take what's already been working in a general sense and add your own flair to it. Create that more custom approach, that custom feel, your brand. Wrap your brand around it. So it's funny, that actually ties into why I do this, specifically with the Advisor Odyssey. At one point I was in that advising field, and I left that field. It wasn't what I had anticipated it being. I stayed in it, so I wasn't in that 90%, nor would I say that I failed, but I wasn't happy doing it. But part of the reason why I do this, and why you probably build your advisory business from the ground up, it's because you do it for the people that you can impact and help. And a lot of times the people that you'll help and make an impact on, you will never know. That's the last piece of advice that I would give, is understand that what you do now and what you will do in the future will make a positive impact on people who will never tell you. So, hope that answers your question.
All right. Question number 2. When should I hire my first employee?
I'm going to specifically make this a service related role, not a sales role, because they're two very different things. You should never have a hybrid. you should be hiring your first like service related role or clerical role when these two things are happening on a consistent basis. One, if you're having to push out prospect appointments because you've got too much on your plate to meet with new people, that's a huge red flag. That's when it's time to hire someone to delegate some of this. The second thing would be when more than 50% of your day is spent doing activities that do not directly make you money. That should be an eye-opener. For example, if on a typical Tuesday, if you, again, say you work 8 hours a day, keep it easy. I know a business owner, you probably work a lot more than that. But if half your day, if more than 4 hours of your day is spent on the phone talking to different mutual companies or insurance companies, if you're trying to track down missing account transfers or trying to figure out where paperwork is, if you're following up on client signatures, if you're just doing paperwork in general, like all of this stuff, as long as your client's experience doesn't suffer, you shouldn't be doing anything that's not a revenue producing activity in your business. That should be delegated. So when those two things are happening, that's when you should hire your first service related role.
Final question for today. Should I be talking about or advertising the planning softwares that I use or no?
I don't believe you should. I know that a lot of people advertise like, their Monte Carlo simulations or, their special fancy software they might have. And sometimes they'll talk about it like in their sales pitches or in their meetings with prospects. And I'm of the belief that the value that you provide to your clients, whether they're a client or they're still in that prospect phase, the value that you provide should not be tied to a specific software or any sort of technology piece. It shouldn't be, because again, as a financial advisor, you're battling with decommoditizing what you do, right? That's your whole battle. You're trying to compete with people around you. The best way to do that is to decommoditize what you do. And as soon as you say, I can give you this blank, like plug in whatever that software is, that report, that analysis, that whatever it is, as soon as that becomes your pitch, that's when most prospects would be thinking, why are you any different? Like, I can get that from most anyone. So that's a big piece of why I don't recommend it and why I don't like it as a whole. The second is when you offer clients a plan to work with you, then the software should be just a piece of the visual representation of the entire package that you can provide. So, for example, if you're working with retirees and maybe they're talking about their retirement income, right? Everyone wants to make sure they have enough income in retirement. Your pitch, or at least a big component of your pitch, should not be, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Smith, you will receive XYZ analysis, and that's what you get as being a client of ours. That's a really watered down way to put it, but overall, you should talk about income planning, and then your software that you choose to use should be tied into that. So your pitch isn't the analysis, or your pitch isn't the software. The pitch is income planning, and then the software should back what you say and what you recommend. It should never do the selling for you or make the point clear. You should be able to do that verbally. The really easy example of this, I know most of you sell life insurance in some capacity. When's the last time you just gave someone a life insurance illustration and you let the illustration explain it for you? Right? The illustration is there to help you put it in terms and perspectives that they will understand and that resonates with them. So that's why I don't think you should be advertising any sort of softwares, or probably even talking about it at all. It should just be wrapped into what you do, and you should talk about what you do big picture.
We hope you enjoyed the Advisor Odyssey audio experience. Connect with us on your favorite social media platforms at Advisor Odyssey. You can find our full-length educational videos to watch on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out all our articles and publications on medium.com/Advisor Odyssey. The Advisor Odyssey podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. The contents and opinions shared, expressed, or otherwise alluded to on the Advisor Odyssey podcast and audio experience are solely ideas and not to be depicted as tax, legal, or investment advice. Results from the use of these concepts may not be representative of the experience of all financial professionals and are no guarantee of future success. Your results may vary. The Advisor Odyssey and its affiliated members are not to be held liable or responsible for any lawful recourse or punishment invoked upon the individual or accompanying business partners or team members. Federal law, state law, and/or insurance carrier requirements may prohibit or place limitations on any of the ideas and activities expressed. All advisors, planners, wholesalers, affiliated reps, and investment advisors should be aware of any limitations imposed by federal regulation, state regulation, insurance carriers, broker-dealers, and registered investment advisors as applicable. Investment advisors are strongly encouraged to obtain pre-approval from the broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, insurance company, or similar institution with which they may be affiliated.